Hello, everyone. My name is Carla, and I am one of the CAMA volunteers. If you guys have been at CAMA events before, or if you are new, we are a volunteer-run nonprofit based in DC, and we have been hosting immigrant-run classes since 2016. So through these events, we hope to build community by providing a platform for immigrants in the DMV area to share their skills and stories. If you want any additional information about CAMA and the upcoming events that we'll be having, you can visit our website, follow us on Facebook or Instagram. I just put the links in the chat for everyone. So because we are completely volunteer run, we are, we use the donations, or we're dependent on donations from kind people like you guys to continue putting on these classes and be able to give our teachers a little small gifts to thank them for the classes. So if you ever want to donate or know people that would be interested in donating, I have dropped the link for that as well. So we're very excited today because we have our first collaborative cooking class in partnership with Abuenica, which is also a nonprofit that's completely volunteer run. It's a grassroots organization who supports the Nicaraguan people that have been afflicted by the crisis in Nicaragua. So today with us, we have Anita Wells, who is a co-founder, and Amanda Ortega, who is a member, and they will share a little bit about Nicaraguan culture through cooking, and they will tell us a little bit more about the history of Nicaragua, as well as the current crisis that is going on. So little housekeeping tidbits before we get started. We do ask that you mute yourselves while we're cooking. We encourage everyone to leave their cameras on so we can see your beautiful creations. And if you need any clarifications or if you have any questions as we go through, feel free to unmute yourself and ask the question to Anita, or you can drop it in the chat and I will let Anita know what is going on. So Anita and Amanda, you guys can go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hi, my name is Anita Wells, and like Carla said, I am the founder of Abuenica, a group of grandmothers. Volunteer Grandmothers is a grassroots organization that is dedicated to help the people in Nicaragua, the forcibly displaced people in the country, as well as the refugees and asylum seekers all over the world. It started out of love for the country. I've been in the United States for 42 years, but Nicaragua is always in my heart. And I've always been in touch with the people back home. So when the crisis started, it was really painful to see it live on TV, and we decided to do something. And today we're gonna be cooking chancho con yuca. Chancho con yuca is one of the most popular dishes in Nicaragua. You can buy it in the streets, you can buy it at the local fairs, and it's usually served on a banana leaf. Believe it or not, but banana leaves, you can buy them in this country and you buy the whole leaf. But these are biodegradable and they're not plastic. So chancho con yuca, you'll see at the end how we serve it on a banana leaf. Should I start?
Yeah.
Okay. Is everybody ready? I don't know if you marinated, some of you marinated the meat the night before. If you didn't, it's okay, because it has to be simmering its own juices. Okay. Here I have 2 pounds of country style ribs, and I use this instead of loin because this is the juicier part of the meat and it has to release a lot of juices. If you use loin, it's going to be dry. So, and I'm going to do it the Nicaraguan way, using my hands. This is how we cook. I wash them before we start. We marinate it with this salt, I also use the same dish it came in. It helps you with dishes. I don't know how it helps the environment, but it does. Okay, and the main ingredient in chancho con yuca is this amazing spice that you don't know, but you have it in your cuisine as well. This is an ancient, look at the grain. this little grain has so many properties. Cheese is white. Okay, I'm gonna add the garlic while we're talking. Add a little bit of vinegar, and in this, I used apple cider or the balsamic. This is balsamic black vinegar. We call it black vinegar. Don't use the sweet one. It has to be just the balsamic vinegar. Believe it or not, the vinegar creates a mixture. It releases some of the flavor of the achiote. And achiote, now you can find it in this country. You can order it on Amazon or buy it at Walmart, the local supermarkets. And amazingly, it comes in all these types of, look at this. It's also called anato. This is used to color your cheddar cheese. Cheddar cheese is white. So it's used in your cooking. It's used in your cosmetics, because this in the old days before Columbus came to America, or the Spaniards came to America. Hold on, I'm gonna add a little bit of cumin. It's supposed to be like a teaspoon. You can do it to taste. And you do it with your hands until your meat is totally red with the achiote. Achiote paste, achiote, the little seed, if you look it up online and you read about it, it has so many qualities and it's so many uses. And just like saffron, except that, you know, this, they compare this to saffron, except saffron is the most expensive spice in the world, and this is not. It has anti-inflammatory properties. Some people in Latin American countries use the leaves to make anti-inflammatory things. It's good for diabetes. So we are not going to, this is gonna take a while to cook. You wash my hands, smell my hands, and let me tell you something. When you smell achiote, it smells like home. And these recipes has been passed by our grandmothers, our mothers, grandmothers. Is a traditional dish.
Adam just commented that this is the first time he's used achiote.
Oh, really? Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I was reading more about it and found out about a lot of uses for an apple or achiote. Achiote, it's an indigenous word. And they use achiote as a sunscreen back in the day. So I'm gonna turn my, Amanda, you wanna follow me? I'm gonna start cooking this with a little bit of oil. And saute bigger chunks of onions than the ones you use to marinate the meat. And we let it cook until the onion is transparent. So it releases. Now, in the meantime, while I'm doing this, I'm also boiling water to cook the yuca. Yuca or cassava. It's a root that is found all over Latin America. And people make bread. We make buñuelos. How do you say buñuelos in English? We use yuca for so many things.
Buñuelos are like fried balls.
Well, yeah, sweet. So we use it in desserts. We use it in salads. It's a high carbohydrate contain fat.
And Anita, while we're cooking, do you mind telling us a little bit about the historic and cultural significance of some of the ingredients that you're using, like chancho, achiote, yuca, or the banana leaves in Nicaraguan dishes?
Yes. It's amazing to read the, how all the different spices came to America. So when the Spaniards came, they brought with them on their second trip, they brought with them six pigs, Iberian pigs. And then, during the other trips, they brought pork to Nicaragua, Central America, and all the countries they were in. At the same time, they transfer, so we inherit the pork and the fat, the manteca, and pork became a food for the poor, because if you have one pork, you can make so many things. Their skin is, you can use the skin, you can use the brain, you can use the head, everything in the. Now I'm going to add the pork. So as the Spaniards brought pork to Nicaragua, yuca is originally from the Americas. Achiote is originally from the Americas. And just as they brought pork to Nicaragua and some of the spices, they also took achiote to Asia. And the consumption of achiote in Asian dishes is very popular. Also, countries like Thailand is a major exporter of achiote to the United States. Because, like I said, it's used to color your cheeses, it's used to color a lot of the food that comes already prepared. It's a natural food color that is used here. So,
Anita, and before pork came to the Americas, what was used?
Well, depending on the area where Nicaraguans are from, they would use iguana. They would use a wild dog, a small wild dog. Okay, they will have fish or iguanas, armadillo, and other type of animals.
Armadillo.
Depending on the area where you're from. Let's see, and also yuca is used. Now it's popular all over Nicaragua, but at the beginning, because this grows in the Pacific area of the country. So it took a while to come to the northern areas in the mountains. But everybody eats yuca in Nicaragua, everybody's eating chancho con yuca. So while this is simmering, I'm gonna transfer it to a lower heat. And you let it simmer for about, until it completely reduces in its own juice, okay? For good effects, I already had one already cooked. So when the yuca is ready, we're gonna be able to plate it. In the meantime, let's move back to make our salad. On top, this is a complete dish. You have your carbs, you have your protein, and you have your salad. I already shredded half a cabbage last night, but for those of you that have never shredded a cabbage, look, you just do it closely to the grain. You can also buy coleslaw mix at the supermarket and save yourself having to do this. I'm very traditional. I like to shred my own cabbage. Okay. And see, it already comes fine if you do it close. If you do it close to its shape, you're gonna get the fine strands. If you buy coleslaw mix, don't use the one that is finely shredded. It has to be a little coarse. We are going to prepare the most popular salad in Nicaragua. We use this everywhere, okay? It's with plantains in a lot of our dishes. I'm also going to add, and it's simple, very simple, cabbage, tomatoes, and I like to use Roma tomatoes because they're easier to cut. They have to be ripe, but not soft, because the vinegar and the salt, tomatoes, when they're combined with salt, they release their own more juices, okay? So you have to be careful. Depending, I use Roma tomatoes. You see, they're easier to cut into like quarter dice size that we call in the culinary world. You put a little bit of onions, if you like onions, and salt. And don't go afraid on the salt, okay? Because it really needs it with the vinegar to bring up the vinegar flavor. You can use any kind of vinegar. Like I said, they call it black vinegar. You can find it in Asian markets. I found something very similar, which is balsamic, but not sweet. I just use a little bit because I don't like the black color in my salad. So you can use any white vinegar, apple cider vinegar. Actually, back home, we use something called sour orange, naranja agria, which you can also buy. And I'm not endorsing any products, but thank God that there are, that you can find these things in this country. When I came 40 years ago, there was no achiote. There was none of our ingredients, not even the beans, because we eat different beans. So our national dish is called gallo pinto. And my first gallo pinto in this country was made with canned kidney beans. And that happens when you migrate to another country. One of the things that you miss the most is the smells in your kitchen, the flavors in your kitchen. Maybe you're lonely and depressed and missing home, and you have a tortilla with cheese and gallo pinto, and it helps. So remember this, thank God you don't have to run away from this country. You live in liberty. But think about this, if you were to go to a complete different country where people don't speak your language, you cannot find your foods, you feel isolated, you feel like you don't belong. Okay. So thank God. And then I'm going to top it up with more tomatoes. Like I said, you can find this in the corners in the streets of Nicaragua when there's peace, or in the local fairs. Okay. Let me see if the yuca is done.
Oh, Anita, Adam just shared that black vinegar is one of his favorite recent ingredients, and it was also used in the noodle dish that Kama hosted.
Oh.
So pretty cool to do it from I think that was a Chinese dish, right? And then bring it over to a Nicaraguan dish.
I'm gonna add a little bit of lemon juice. You can add lemon juice, you can add vinegar. That way your yuca will not be yellow. It will stay white. And then you throw the lemon rind in the garbage disposal to make it smell, and it's a natural cleaner. I'm into all that. Okay, let's see. I bought frozen yuca. You can buy frozen yuca in small packages, come from Goya, your local Latin store, supermarket, but now Walmart carries a lot of Latin foods. Okay.
Unfortunately, one of our participants today is joining from the United Kingdom, and they were unable to find achiote. So some of the ingredients we gotta send out there.
Yes, that's sad. Trust me, it's sad, because how do you duplicate if you need paprika and you cannot find paprika or achiote? But use paprika, I will say to the person from the United Kingdom. Substitute. Use a little. Anato doesn't have a real strong flavor. The flavor comes out when you mix it with the vinegar and oil and the rest of the, when you dissolve and grind the seed. So if you cannot find achiote, use vinegar, use paprika, not the spicy one, not the smoked one, but just regular paprika, and dream about it until we can find achiote. Okay, now our pork is cooking, and we're going to plate it. Get the banana leaf.
Were any of the other participants able to get banana leaves for decoration?
Decoration. We use bananas. We use another leaf, the colchagüite, but you're not gonna find that. This is where we wrap also our tamales. They're called naca tamales. It's one of our national dishes. You see, if you have a leaf like this, big, and they serve it to you here, you're supposed to be eating. A lot of cultures eat with their hands. Okay, now they give you a plastic fork. So we're going to plate our dish with the yuca. Maybe like a little volcano, not tower. We have volcanoes in Nicaragua, so we serve our food too in a little volcano tower. So you have the yuca that has like a potato consistency and flavor, which is bland. But this is very seasoned. So this is what's going to give your yuca. Like I said, it's a complete dish. And the achiote, see how it's already giving some color to the yuca right there? Okay, if you have a little bit of the juice, drop it there. Let's make it a big dish like this. And now,
and for most of you, you probably won't be at this step yet since you're still waiting for your pork to simmer. So we just wanted to, because that takes a little bit longer, we wanted to make sure you could see what the final product's supposed to look like.
And this is how you do it on TV too, huh? Mm-hmm. You have I cooked that last night. So look how pretty this looks. And here you can use, if you want to add Tabasco or any kind of hot spice on top. We don't use salsa because it's a little more on the Mexican dishes, but you can make a chilero that we call, that is made with onions and vinegar and real spice chili pepper that's really small. So, Manda, you want to follow me? I want to show you look how pretty it looks. To show you a little bit more about Nicaraguan gastronomy, these are our chips, plantains. You go to a restaurant anywhere in Nicaragua, you're going to be served fried plantains, green plantains. And this is our national dish, gallo pinto, which is a mix of small little red beans with rice. And this is fried cheese. In your local stores, you can buy queso para freír, especially for frying.
Cheese for frying.
It's delicious. I use olive oil, so not to add any more. But if you're on a keto diet, this is perfect, okay? Not the gallo pinto, not the yuca, but you can still do keto, because I know a lot of you that are tuning in are into keto diet. So there you go, guys. This is very much what our Nicaraguan dishes look like, okay? This is one of our staple foods. Some of my books, this book in particular, talks a lot about the history and the fusion of the foods from the Spaniards with the ingredients that they found in Nicaragua. So it's beautiful to be able how the Spaniards substituted, we didn't have wine. So they substituted and made wine and alcohol out of some of our local fruits. Cojocotes, nancites. Can they see me? Mm-hmm. You want me to stand by that?
Yes.
To wash my hands. So this is it. Anybody has any other questions, Amanda, about Abuelita? Oh, and by the way, I want to thank all of you who contributed, who donated to be here today. And I'm going to tell you where your donations are going to go, okay? We'll be able to buy a sewing machine for a single mother. We'll be able to buy some material for her as well. We'll be able to buy 2 small mattresses for some ex-political prisoners that are hiding in the country, who are sleeping on the floor. And food, we're going to be able to buy the medicine that an HIV patient needs. So believe me, $200, which is amazing. $5 go a long way in Nicaragua if you know how to use it and where to go. And what we're trying to do is to create jobs, small jobs. We recently had a tortilleria, for a single mother, again, hiding somewhere in Nicaragua, but we were able to buy the stove and the gas tank and the things that she needed. And now there's
And Anita, for a lot of the people displaced.
Yes. April 19, 2018, the senior citizens, the government of Daniel Ortega passed a law that they were going to take away some of the insurance, like if they take your social security here in this country. So the older people came out to protest in the streets. When the students saw that the police was beating 80-year-old men, women who were just asking for the government not to take that away from them, the students who honestly, it was like a pressure cooker that exploded, because you can only repress people so much. And they took that and went into the streets to support the senior citizens. Unfortunately, on the 18th, we had the first child dead. And the next day we had, he became the name, Alvaro Contreras, who was a 15-year-old kid who went out just to give people water, the people that were protesting. Well, a sharpshooter that now we know came from Cuba and Venezuela. Anyway, a bullet went into it, and we have the video and we saw it on camera. And that's when, you see what's happening in your country. You say, how do I help? What do we do? After that, by the end of April, we had 66 people dead, 66 mothers crying. We had thousands of people disappear, young people disappeared. And it just got worse by the minute. Finally, the people made barricades to protect their neighborhoods, until one day they decided to go, and without any care, they just started shooting people and killing people in the streets. So Nicaragua has a dictator. It's been from one dictatorship to the next, with only a few years in between of what we might consider democracy. But really, Daniel Ortega has been manipulating and governing throughout this entire time. Things have gotten worse. Him and his wife are in complete control. It's a totalitarian regime. So what happened is, people that were in those barricades, and they were just It's not like you're at war. These people were completely unarmed. They had slingshots and they had stones, again, AK-47s. So there's a lot of displaced people inside the country that are hiding. Anybody who participated in the protest, carrying our national flag became a symbol of opposition. You can get killed by displaying this flag out in the streets. That's why we also had hundreds of thousands of Nicaraguans who left, running for their lives. So a lot of them went to Costa Rica, neighboring country. About 100,000 migrated at the time. Some have already returned. But there's still so many refugees and so many people in exile. Same thing for the northern border, Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, and then you all know about the caravans, which unfortunately, a lot of the people are running away from poverty, not necessarily for their lives like Nicaraguans are. Any other questions from the audience?
So we did have one question around cooking. Carla, did you want to take that first? And then I probably have some follow-ups to what you just discussed.
Yeah, no problem. I just didn't want to interrupt. Daniel Gregory arrived a little bit late and he missed what happened to the yuca. Does he peel the brown bark like skin off before cutting it?
Okay, he bought the real thing, which this is the real thing, okay, too. Yes, you make an indentation with your knife on the brown skin and just lift it up. Let me get a knife to show you how to do it. Unfortunately, I don't have yuca with me.
No problem. And if any other participants have any additional questions, either about cooking or about Nicaragua, Bonica, or the crisis, feel free to either unmute yourself or drop them in the chat.
Let me grab one of the pieces. Okay. If these have the skin, you just make an indentation like this and lift it up with the file side. And the peel will practically come off on its own by you turning it around and pushing it around. I'm sorry, I should have yuca. I thought about it this morning. But we live in a country where convenience is everything. You even buy your cabbage already shredded.
Yeah, no problem. And we do have a couple more questions. So Will would like to know, how do you know when the pork is cooked?
Let it simmer. Let me take you, let's look at the one that's on the stove right now. I did not add any water. There was no liquid added to this, okay? These are all juices directly from the pork. Because this is all those juices. So as you can see, there's still a lot of liquid in it. And what you can do, the pork is already soft. The pork is tender. See, not yet. Touch it, or you can use a fork.
Do that again, but put your hand up, yeah.
Put my hand here, okay. If you want to know if it's done, see, if you can stick your spoon in, it's done. Right now, it's still too tough. So you need to let it get soft. That's why I'm gonna cover it again. And then when it's soft, if you still have a lot of liquid, just open it up, let it simmer, so the liquids will evaporate. But remember, and don't use too much salt because this is reducing and the flavors will concentrate on the meat itself, okay?
And about how long would you say the meat usually takes to cook?
40 minutes, I will say. Okay. And don't rush her in a pressure cooker, please. It has to be done like this, slowly simmering. Once it's done, you can refrigerate it. You can marinate the meat and freeze it. And if you want to show off one of these days, to your friends, hey, I'm gonna make food from Nicaragua.
Yeah, and I believe we have one more cooking question before we dive back into Nicaraguan subjects. Somebody used pork loin, and sadly they said, would it get tender? Should they wait more?
If it's tender, just let it reduce, evaporate, if it's already tender, because pork loin probably did not have many juices in it. It's a drier cut of meat. So cook it slowly and let it evaporate. It'll be fine. Trust me, if you have the achiote and the rest of the ingredients, my kitchen smells divine.
Thank you so much, Anita. And so diving back into it, Ben would like to know if you could talk more about the work that Abuenica has done in the past, specifically the different projects that you have supported.
Yes, at the beginning of the crisis, some of the people from my hometown, Ortega, whom I knew, actually one of them took care of my father while he was dying, and they were students. My father was an educator. So they came, we were able to, with a similar type of organizations already in Honduras, we were able to get a shelter where we, with their help and our help, we had 29 refugees just in that shelter from different parts of the country. All of a sudden, you get people from everywhere coming in. We also had 2 shelters in Trojes, Honduras, in the border. And that was specifically campesinos or peasant farmers that are being completely, totally annihilated by Daniel Ortega. Some of them, and I'll tell you the reasons. You've all heard about the Contra. That happened many, many years ago. Most of that generation is dead. But if you were a member of the resistance, because they call it La Contra, and they said, it was all the United States. No, the campesinos, the peasant farmers, took place in this. I mean, they took the cause in their hands. So we had 2 shelters for refugees. In one of them, we had 23 women. Children, we had a couple of, we had a beautiful twin birth. And I have pictures that you cannot show up, but we were able to help that mother. A lot of the people came with their feet completely in shreds because they had to go through stones and mountains. So by the time they reached the place, they left with nothing. Now, so we were able to improvise a small clinic. We bought, what do you call it? Not disposable, but equipo médico.
Like a
portable
medical
surgical equipment. We were able to do that. And medications, milk for the children, powdered milk for the children. So just in that area, we had 66 campesinos. Unfortunately, a few of them, the army from Nicaragua went into Honduras, persecuted them, and killed them. I still have one of the messages from Don Edgar, who was killed in Trojes, and he sent me a message thanking me for some of the aid in food that we had sent. It breaks my heart. The entire family has been annihilated. Thank God. One of them has reached the United States and he has been given asylum by this country. And I have to thank the United States because they have been considering the Nicaraguan cases, depending on what area you apply for asylum. But a lot of our refugees are in detention centers, immigration detention centers. They just released one that was patient enough to wait for 2 years inside one of the detention centers. So the projects in Abuenica, we've done small businesses. Like I said, the tortilleria, we also had
And why do they need these small businesses?
Because they cannot work. A lot of them are in lists, okay? They cannot go to the hospitals. They're considered, you're blue and white. Okay, if you're not one of their militants, or if you don't have a militant card, you go to a hospital and they're going to either kill you or torture you, or from there you go straight to jail. So the reason why they are displaced in other places where nobody knows who they are, and they're able to have small businesses to support themselves. If not, they will be completely dependent on charity, either from neighbors or from people like us. And it's impossible to help everybody.
And can you talk a little bit about the work with NADA as well?
NADA is, I'm also co-founder of a group called Nicaraguan American Human Rights Alliance. And the reason is, when I first migrated to this country, we did not have a diaspora that could help us. We were the first ones getting out from a horrible war. Now we have become American citizens. We have been participating in the elections, and we are organized to be able to help the people that are coming in. We know the laws in the United States, and I'm not an immigration expert, but I've learned a lot. And the way Abuenica helps is by translating their documents, for free, which is one of the things that I've been doing for a lot of cases. And when you're translating some of their testimonies, it affects you emotionally. There's days where eating, it's almost impossible after you translate some of the things these people go through. Abuenica, what else have we done? For the hurricane, Nicaragua was also 2 hurricanes. We were able to provide shelter for some of the people in the most affected area. We also, through Abuenica, with the help of another organization, we collected enough money to send for them to have food and shelter in the affected areas. The other thing that we did, in togetherness with Conexión Nica USA, another organization to which Abuenica belongs, we were able to collect from all of you. Amazing, we were able to buy PPE equipment for the medical personnel in Nicaragua, and we were able to cover 3 hospitals. Abuenica on her own, the grandmothers protected the area of Jinotega, and we were able to cover the hospitals and the surrounding areas for the medical workers. The reason the government did not give them anything, it was considered you were an opposition person if you were a mask. Okay, so we were able to buy a sewing machine and have people make masks themselves and protect themselves. Another part of Abuenica is educating on COVID, educating on survival skills. We've also have provided psychological help. One of the grandmothers, that's her specialty. And they were able to call. Now, thank God to technology, we're able to do a lot more than just send money.
And then, go ahead, Carla.
Sorry, we do have some chat questions that I want to get addressed. Adam would like to know how you get resources and people to help you with your work or the work of Abuenica.
Our resources mainly come, an event like this. Adam and Amanda also hosted an event last year at one of the local bars in DC. But really, we have not approached the American community the way we should, because Americans are very giving. So our resources come from a lot of the Nicaraguan community, donations through Venmo, through Facebook, through Abuenica is a nonprofit organization registered in Virginia. So, any donation you make is tax deductible, and we are accountable. And those are the resources. How we get resources with donations.
Mm-hmm. What about some of the things that folks from the US can help? What can they do to help the cause?
Great question. How do I help a country that it's not in the news? You don't know what's going on. Nobody mentions Nicaragua. Yet, Yesterday, we had amazing news. A new bill called the Renaissance Act. I'm going to show you the words so that you're familiar with it. It was introduced in Congress yesterday. This is the second time that a Nicaraguan cause is able to unite Republicans and Democrats. Believe it or not, a lot of them are with us, and they know that the government of Nicaragua is their regional threat. So they introduced the Renaissance Act, and you as Americans can help more than anybody. Please tweet your congressman, tweet your senator, write in their social media, call them and leave a message and say, please support the Renacer Act. And Renacer means it's the reinforcement Nicaraguan adherence to condition for electoral reform. Right now, we're supposed to be having elections in November, but it's really just a form of pressure in the government to give us what it's right, to let us have free elections. Almost going to be impossible. But at least the United States are doing something to bring democracy to help us. And that's how you can help.
So I just dropped in the chat too a link to the actual bill, and you can just read about it and get to know it. And if you're able to call your senators, your congressmen, your representatives to support this, that's definitely one way that's really great. And then of course, to be frank, like financial contributions, like we said, a little goes a really long way. We can do a lot. For me, what's interesting as someone that works in international development, I always ask Anita, why aren't these international organizations in the country? Like, why don't we have humanitarian organizations helping the people? Can you talk a little bit about that?
They were expelled from the country. Since they were monitoring organizations, human rights organizations, Metheny, CPDH, people that were documenting the atrocities that were happening. So he decided to kick everybody out of the country. United Nations, everybody out of the country. That's why the count of dead stopped at 352. We have over 500 people dead. We have thousands that nobody knows where they are. Our political prisoners. With the first time that the United States passed the Nica Act, the pressure that was put on the government, they were able to release a lot of the political prisoners, most of them. They have been reincarcerated. Again, we have 129 political prisoners, some of them in cells that I cannot describe to you because I will ruin the food that you just prepared, okay? But when you go to bed at night, pray for our political prisoners, pray for their mothers. One of the moms every day, she's like, I cannot sleep thinking that my son is in one of those little rooms, it's horrible, in horrible conditions.
Yeah. So it's really civil society that has had to mobilize. And so all these different organizations that Anita has talked about, a lot of them are in the diaspora community. And then they work through informal channels with other organizations inside the country to get the assistance to these people, because the international orgs simply aren't there and they're not supporting and there's no one else. So it's hard for everyone, but especially for these small organizations trying to do a lot with a little. And of course, it's completely volunteer run.
And some of because the government gets help from the United States. Mm-hmm. I mean, they just received 145,000 doses of vaccine, COVID vaccine, but they're only going to the red and black, okay, the party of death. If you're blue and white, if you participated in any of the protests, and your neighbors know that the thing about this is your neighbors, you don't know who's spying on you. You don't know who's going to call and say, hey, this person has the Nicaraguan flag on her porch, okay? Or blue, believe it or not, balloons, blue and white balloons have become a weapon in Nicaragua. That's how crazy and abnormal this dictatorship is. So think about them, pray for Nicaragua, pray for the political prisoners, pray for the April moms.
Call your representative.
And call your representative, that's for sure. Let me get, you know what I did? Yes, I'll be right back.
I think while we wait, I'm just gonna take a moment to thank everybody for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed learning about Nicaragua as much as we did.
Yes.
We have a beautiful poster.
This is the act that I'm asking everybody. It's called Renacer Act. Take a picture. We're asking all Nicaraguan Americans and whoever wants to join us to take a picture of yourself with this, something like this that says Renacer. Okay, Renacer in Spanish means rebirth. And Nicaragua is going to have a rebirth. Nicaragua will be resurrected. So this is the word Renacer Act. Call your congressman, call your representative, help us. And send donations to Abuenica and to NARA, because NARA is helping with documents, with protecting human rights of all the Nicaraguans that are applying for asylum in the United States and in other parts of the world.
Okay, I think we are getting very close to 1 p.m. Yes, speaking of that, any donations that you would like to do to support the work that Abuenica has been doing can be made through Venmo. Again, I will relink their Facebook site so you can stay connected and know the work that they have been doing and how your money will be invested in supporting these communities. Again, Anita, Amanda, thank you so much for teaching us about Nicaragua, about Chancho con Yuca, and about the current crisis going on. I hope everybody's pork is almost done or tender. Again, if you have any other questions, feel free to contact us or reach out to Abuenica. What are the last 4 digits of the Venmo?
Oh, like the account that it's associated to. It's
Yeah.
probably a phone number, right?
I think you can click like pay
Abuenica,
anyway.
8009
Yeah.
are the last numbers.
What is it?
8009.
Okay.
And I want to thank Kama, okay? And I want to say a few words about this organization of millennials who are doing something about getting people to know who we are as immigrants. How do we, instead of destroying things and rioting and protesting, here they are doing something positive about teaching the Americans, showing the American community who their neighbors are, especially in this area in Washington, D.C., where you find people from all over the world. And if we could just join hands together and partake in our food, in our cultures, in our poetry, our music. Thank you, Kama. You guys are amazing. Thank you very much. Viva Nicaragua Libre.